Hello and welcome to another episode of the FPL Hangover podcast where we raise the bar in order to own all things FPL related. We are coming to you live on the 20th of September. Gameweek 5 has just blitzed on by, and as per usual, we're left to pick up the shattered pieces of our FPL teams. But it's not all doom and gloom this week, folks. We actually have a bit of a surprise. We are bringing back the FPL Highstool. And it's going to be at the end of this episode. For those that aren't really familiar with it, it's just a bit of a chin wag between ourselves and an FPL manager. Kind of focuses on the manager as opposed to the game weeks or strategy or any of that. But stay tuned to that, and there'll be all the usual Game Week 5 review, Game Week 6 preview. And here to help me march through the fog is my podcast partner in crime, Paddy. How are you getting on, my friend?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back in the pod as always, and I can't wait to get into the Game Week 5 shenanigans.
You look pretty buzzed over there. I suppose we might as well just get straight into it and keep him from hanging out in the cold. We have a special guest this week. He's specifically asked to be called an FPL expert. I thought it was a little bit, a little bit over the top, but hey, we're great hosts. Please allow me to introduce a man who finished top 5k last year, and he's well known around the FPL community, especially on Twitter. You might know him as Chief or at FPL Hints. I am lucky enough to know him as Ash. Ash, how are you getting on, my friend?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm anything but an FPL expert. Yes, going all good. Thank you very much. Good to be on, and good to talk about FPL, I guess.
It's good to have you. Paddy. I know you're holding it in. Do you want to say hello? Just get it out. Just go straight into it.
Can I get blow the load?
Do it. Go on. Go for it, Paddy.
There we go. I've been waiting for that moment. So I can get it on. I'm good, guys. I had a shite game week, so, couldn't be fucking arsed even chatting about Game Week 5. I just want to chat about Game Week 6. But you know what? I'm really excited to have Ash here because I love Ash. And I'm looking forward to having some great Game Week 5 insight from the FPL expert wanker he is.
What have you let yourself in for, Ash?
I know. I've opened a can of worms now.
It's too late. We've hit the record button, so there's no going back. But I will push on into some FPL. Game Week 5 has passed. Not the worst of weeks for myself. I got a whopping score of 68 points, and that was post wildcard. That saw me move from 296, just inside the 300k, up to just inside the 200k mark. So a bit of a recovery after last week's raid. Nothing massive to talk about. I mean, Salah's captain, Ronaldo scored, Rafinha, Bamford returned, and I suppose the big talking point for me, or at least the person who I can thank for saving my game week or turning it into a green arrow at the very least, is Antonio Rudiger with a massive 14-point haul. So all good on my end. Ash, how did your game week 5 go?
Yeah, it was actually surprising. It went surprisingly well considering the anomalies that we had in that game week. I scored about 71 points and got bailed out by Captain Mohamed Salah, and it was quite interesting. Like, my bench got 8 points off the bench as well. So all in all, cut my rank in half. And I've got 2 free transfers now for Game Week 6. So, I just hope there aren't more game weeks like that where we have all these, like, no-shows, like, negative points. So, I guess I'm kind of just hoping for the best now for Game Week 6 and see what happens.
That's all we can ever do, is hope for the best. 71 is a whopping score, especially with no transfer used.
Ash.
Yeah. And that sees you, I think, push up inside to the top 32k at the moment. I don't know how much rank matters at this stage. What about you, Ash? Just while we're on your team, how much when do you start looking at the overall rank and kind of worrying or taking satisfaction in it?
I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. Like, some people will say, oh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. All the the casual managers are using the chip, so the rank as we know it is quite artificial at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
that's one. That's the long-standing like maxim in FPL, right? But I go by a different maxim. I go by the maxim that a good start is a head start. To be perfectly frank with you,
Yeah.
In many ways, we're all going to merge onto that template fairly quick. In fact, the template more or less already exists. So if you can get a good start, you're very lucky, and it helps you build momentum, and it basically puts you in a position where you can make safer shield picks as opposed to riskier sword picks. And even at this early stage in the season, I think that makes a huge amount of difference. So again, I'm not sure if that's might sound controversial to some purists out there, but I honestly believe that good start can help, and it only comes by luck, to be honest with you as well. But if you haven't got a good start, there's plenty of time to catch up. 30 plus game weeks, and just don't panic. That's the main thing.
100%. I mean, like, I think depending on how you start the season, it doesn't define the season, but it does define what choices you make throughout the rest of it. As the season progresses, if your rank doesn't improve, or you want to, maybe kind of jump up the rankings, then you're going to need to be looking, like, as the season progresses, you're going to be looking probably more and more to I think up chase is the common parlance now, upside chasing. So you might look to captain that, Fernandes in a week where everyone's captain Salah. Especially now that Fernandes all of a sudden seems to have become some kind of fucking differential. Like, who would have predicted that 4 or 5 weeks ago? That in game week 6, people could legitimately call Fernandes kind of a differential. Paddy, what about you? You all on the Fernandes train now, or have you jumped ship to Ronaldo?
Oh yeah, I jumped. I wildcarded a couple of weeks back, and I'm completely now on the Ronaldo train. I'm glancing over at the Fernandes, and he got the assist there, and he's still he's keeping with anyone who's kept him will be happy enough. But I think it's got to be Ronaldo for me.
Yeah. Before we break down the Ronaldo, well, I suppose jump into the Ronaldo argument once again. It seems to be, it's just one of the hottest talking points since he, rejoined United. How did your game week 5 go, Paddy? You said it didn't go too well.
Yeah, sorry, it wasn't great. I'm looking here at the average is 55, and we're chatting off air, and we all agreed that the average was over. It was quite high. I didn't think it was going to be as high as it was. I finished up on 52 points, and thankfully that I had Salah captain. I was thinking about 50-50 between Salah and Ronaldo. I was on that Ronaldo train, the buzz. I was going to go with him captain, but I just went with the head over heart, and I went with Salah. But the defense let me down. That Wolves result was crazy. I didn't see that coming. Cody 0 points. I had Aileen 2 points. Williams for Norwich nothing. I was lucky to get Christensen. Because that was a decision that I was thinking, oh my god, I got him in last week and he didn't even play, and then they were playing Spurs, and I was thinking, this isn't going to be a good week for my defense. But he was the only defender that actually pulled me out of a hole. He got me 6 points, and I was buzzing. Then a lot of auto subs come on. There was no Trent, there was no Torres, and I kept Antonio, so the bench is just all zeros. Gilmore came on, got me 3. Traore, it was the Traore versus Sarr. What a guy. Traore in the bin. Jota, what's going on? The Tsimikas and Jota battle rages on. I think they're all tied. And then something positive. I got rid of DCL. I brought in Bamford, and that was the plus 5 points for my transfer in Ronaldo 6. So that's me. It wasn't a great game week. I had a 250k red arrow, but I'm still positive. I'm always going to be positive. I think that team, we'll talk about it later, but I'm not making too many changes this week.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I suppose we've done our team, so we might as well jump into the FPL headlines. The week in FPL, as Paddy calls it. You kind of touched on a lot of them there, Patrick. You talked about Wolves absolutely drawing a blank this week against Brentford. And, not just Wolves assets not delivering, but the likes of Mbuemo, Tony, players that FPL managers had in their teams since a lot of them since the start of the season, all took their time but came good this week with I think a massive 12-pointer for Tony. Ash, have you jumped on Wolves? What's your thought on Wolves? It seems they seem to have been the talk of the town before game week 5, and everything seems to have grinded to a halt right now. Where do you stand on the pups?
Yeah, so with Wolves, obviously, they seem to be this season's XG darlings, the same way Brighton were last season. I feel that they've been rather unfortunate with the difficult games they had initially, and over the weekend, obviously the result completely went by the wayside in terms of what we were hoping for. I feel with Wolves, I've seen some teams triple up with Wolves. They've got Martial, they've got Traore, Jimenez. I think that's a bit too much, to be honest with you. Yes, they've still got a good run of games, and for me personally, if they're not, if you haven't got a Wolves asset right now, you're better off just holding off from getting one for the time being. Sheet 2 weeks back, 2 game weeks ago, but yeah, just all of a sudden they just seem a bit problematic. And how I see it with my specific team and with Connor Cody in particular, I'm happy to just have him as sub 1 for the time being, really. So yeah, if you've got triple Wolves, you might want to rejig your team. At the same time, if you have got a Wolves defender, which I'm assuming a lot of people do have, and you don't have a playing bench, then you're going to have to start that defender without a shadow of a doubt. But yeah, that's just my take on it, really, on Wolves. They've just been disappointing. It's really the turn is coming, but when?
Yeah, and I mean, is the turn going to come while the fixtures are still good? That's the question. I mean, I'm with you in the sense that I think 3 Wolves players is probably a little bit too many, maybe. I think you can make do with definitely with a defensive asset. There's so much value in there right now with a 4.5 Cody, and I think I think he's gone up to 4.6 now, Marcel. But so much value in their defense, and they've kept 3. Is it just a 1 clean sheet? I can't. I think the first 3 matches 1-0. Maybe they've only kept a 1 clean sheet. But as you said, XG darlings, also XGC darlings. I'm way out of my depth using letters like that, because that's not something we do in the FPL Hangover. But I think we all know that Wolves are showing pretty good defensive stats, and that's kind of why people were heading that way. But with Southampton, Newcastle in the next 2. I think there's definitely a bit of hope for people who have jumped on the Wolves attacking our defensive bandwagon. I'm concerned about the offensive side of things. I mean, I've been banging on about Jimenez for about 3 weeks now. Paddy will tell you, we were on the FPL surgery a couple of weeks ago, and I was all Jimenez, this look at the shots in the box, goals imminent, all the usual stuff, and I jumped on them 2 weeks ago, and I've yet to reap any rewards from that. And now with Antonio coming back, I feel like it's time to right a wrong and head back towards that side of London. So I suppose the big question is, Paddy, what did you think about him and his taking off his headband this week?
I thought it was terrible. But just going back to what you were saying there about Jimenez and Antonio, I was mad to jump on Jimenez, on my wild card.
Yeah.
And I was scared off him by Twitter. I put up a few, the drafts, wild cards. Oh, you have no Antonio. So I went with Antonio. Got me a red card.
Classic.
Took my dues. All right. And I swear to God, I'm happy I have Antonio now.
Yeah.
You know, look who's laughing
That-
now.
Yeah.
That's the way I am. I'm quite happy to have Antonio over fucking Jimenez. And the Cody, I have double Wolves, right? No, shit. Double Wolves. I took Traore instead, who's been
Oh,
shite.
Hmm.
And I've got Cody. Cody, solid. I think Cody's solid enough. I'm hoping that, like we were saying, the fixtures are good. I think
yeah.
we're due some rewards. I really do think we're due some rewards from the defense. I love what you said there, though, Jer. It's the attack that we're a wee bit, wary of. It doesn't feel good. And if I didn't have a plan in my head for the next couple of game weeks, I'd be very tempted just to boot Traore out and stuff. But I'm just going to stick with them. I'm sticking with my plan. Anyway, going back to what you were originally saying, I'm happy that I don't have Jimenez at the moment, and that I have Antonio for the next game week.
No, that makes sense. Ash, what about you? Wolves attacking assets, yay or nay?
I think like I have a general rule that if players are not scoring and you feel they're due, wait for them to score before you consider them as options. Really, like especially with Jimenez, like without a shadow of a doubt, and Traore, they are due. I just feel really sorry for the managers who sold Tony last week, and then they got Jimenez, and obviously they missed out on Tony's haul. And then there are those who could have gone for Sarr, and they went for Traore. Yeah, the returns are coming, but there's only so much you can wait before they return. So it's just it's a tough one. If you don't have them, you're lucky, and if you have got them, maybe a bit more patience. But then if you've wild carded them in, then it just becomes a bit more problematic, I guess.
Yeah. So if you're in my boat, Ash, if you like jumped on Jimenez when Antonio got his suspension, and then you decided, or actually I don't even know if that's the way it worked out, but regardless, I have Jimenez, and now Antonio's coming back from his suspension, so I'm looking at that Leeds fixture and the Brentford one afterwards, but particularly the Leeds one, and I'm thinking like I think Antonio's gone back to. I made a mistake. I feel like I made a mistake jumping off him, and I want to rectify that before it bites me in the arse too much. So do you wait with the likes of a Jimenez, or if you already have him, or do you just go, no, I'm going back to Antonio?
I think you're going to have to wait now. Like you've put your eggs in that basket, unless you've got no other fires to put out in your team. I could see why you'd want to switch to Antonio. But then the problem with Antonio is that even though he's back from suspension, they've got like the European competition as well. And how long will it be for his hamstrings to, obviously he's not going to be playing full 90 minutes in Europe. That's the only problem with him. Ironically, I'm looking to sell Antonio after the Leeds game so that I can get Lukaku. But yeah, with Jimenez right now, Southampton, if I'm not mistaken, in the next game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just on a point of note there, I was so disappointed with Cody, and then I've got Livramento in my team as well. I'm actually going to probably start Livramento over Connor Cody in that match. Again, it's not to say that Wolves, won't score, but I just feel that he probably offers more value at this moment in time. But yeah, with Jimenez, again, I don't want to give any wrong advice or, in that situation, if you've got no other fires to put out, you can probably switch him, but just give him a chance now. You've got him.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if you have Jimenez now, you give him another match at least. And I'm kind of with you there, Ash. Like I'm on the lookout to get Lukaku in, and I know we'll be discussing that further later on. But there was another thing that happened this game week that when Antonio got the red, and there was a lot of DCL managers as well, and a lot of people would have made that move very early. I was I almost rage transferred him out, but thankfully I didn't. But what I did do, I did go early on Bamford. DCL to Bamford, and we got a little scare with that, didn't we? We did, with that audio clip of as the hamstring pinging gate. God, I swear to, I was in the WhatsApp group with the lads, and I can't believe I did it. I made a wee move early, just to get it out of the way, and then the next thing, heard the news that Bamford might have been injured. So I had potentially transferred out an injured player and brought in an injured player. Thank God that kind of worked out. Now I'm sitting now with a front three of Antonio, Bamford, and Ronaldo, and I'm quite happy to keep that front three for this game week, for game week 5.
Definitely.
But the plan was always to get rid of Antonio and Bamford and bring in Lukaku.
Is it game week 6? Sorry, just if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, sorry, yeah, for game week 6, yes. So the plan was always to get rid of Bamford and Antonio and bring in Lukaku for game week 7. So, yes. But now I'm just not too sure if I want to give up that forward line for Lukaku and just Ronaldo after the Lukaku blank. I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, it was Tottenham or whatever. But I'm thinking, in my head, Lukaku was always going to score goals. Ronaldo was always going to score goals. But maybe my little strike force might be okay, and maybe I should focus on Torres and Traore. I feel that they're bigger fires.
Exactly, and for me, it comes down to that. You might have a plan in mind, right? Like in this case, Lukaku. But if there are other fires to fight, right, then by default, it is worth looking at them because, like you've said, like with Traore, how many more chances are you going to give him? Yeah. Torres, all of a sudden, it's become a rotation risk. But with Lukaku, just a side point, I didn't watch the full match on Sunday, but I have to say that Lukaku was very unfortunate not to score against Tottenham. He could have even scored a hat-trick on another day. Like, and the chances that Chelsea wasted in the final, 20-odd minutes, they really should have scored more goals.
100%.
So,
100%.
Well, hearing that, guys, I didn't see the game. Now, hearing that has given me something more to think about. Now, I was doing family stuff. I didn't see the game. Now, I just caught...
Maybe I just watched a part of the game where he looked sensational, right? But
yeah.
Especially the final, half an hour, especially that he could have scored goals. Also, he was so selfless in certain parts of the game as well.
He was too selfless, if anything.
Exactly. So maybe I don't know. Maybe because Chelsea were leading, he thought, well, I'm going to share the glory with my teammates, but. There's maybe a lesson learned for him. Maybe if it was a different situation where Chelsea needed to score to win, then he wouldn't be passing it about. And of course, Man City is the next match. I doubt many managers will be getting him in for that game. But it's that game week 7 turnaround.
Yeah.
But in your instance, right? Look, you've got Bamford, good run of games. You've got Ronaldo, fixture proof. You've got Antonio, again, talisman for his team. Like anyone who's got that front three right, and feels that there's other parts of the team that needs addressing, look to the other parts because those three, right? Like you could sell Bamford, right, easily, get Lukaku, but then Bamford could almost outscore Lukaku or match him, and then you've got the Traore and Torres problem still. So that's worth factoring in. Absolutely.
That's what I want to ask the both of you. Just quickly here, right? My game plan for game week 7 was I'm to roll the transfer now, okay? And I roll the transfer and I have Antonio. I'm happy to have Antonio. I'm happy to have Bamford. And of course, I'm happy to have Ronaldo. So I was going to roll the transfer. The things that I'm kind of unhappy about are having Traore and Torres in my team. Now, that's basically they're main players in my midfield. Torres, Traore. Pick Traore because the fixtures looked good. Over Sarr. Fair enough. That's a mistake now, but that was kind of a toss-up at the time. And you never know. Maybe Traore does something, but looking at Wolves, I'm not impressed. Torres, out of position, playing up top, but now he's spared. We kind of knew he was always going to be a wee bit spared anyway, but we thought playing up top, it might be worth a shot. At the moment now, my midfield is Salah, Torres, and Traore, and I can't even remember the other one. Gilmore. Oh my God! That's not that. I feel I'm very weak in the midfield.
And Jota.
And Jota, yeah. Who,
But I think what Ash is talking about there, it kind of brings I was going to get onto this anyway, but in terms of he's kind of answered it already. But in terms of that Ronaldo, Lukaku, you're looking to bring him in. You were saying, Ash, you were talking about Antonio out, Lukaku in. So you're premium, I believe, is the word the cool kids are saying. So you think the 3 premium players is an option going forward? Is that right?
Yeah. So, like, I just put this out there on FPL Twitter, just like doing some experiments with my own team, and I'm in a fortunate situation where I can have all 3 without any hits over the next 2 game weeks, and I just put it out there to say, look, and it's maybe even the premium might be the wrong word. It's the formium where you've got
With
Trent.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But that doesn't sound as nice, Ash. So if you could just keep to the script, that would be great.
We could call them the 4 horsemen.
The 4 horsemen
of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when they
like,
blank, your fucking rank is going to plummet. That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, how I see it, right, that, again, the mindset that I try to look to, again, I am not a consistently top 10k finishing manager. That's not my bag at all, right? But I look towards that way because I want to, finish within the top 10k. I probably won't this season, but that's my aim, right? And they always have a balanced teams, whoever you look at, right? They don't just shove all the premiums in and then it mucks up the team. But with these premiums that we're talking about, right? With certain formations, in fact, with one specific formation, you can get genuine balance, right? Like and I'm going to say this, right? The 4-4-2 formation, right, will become very popular very quickly if Lukaku, rediscovers his scoring touch. I say rediscovers if he's not scored in like
one game,
like a year. But I just watch game week 7, right? If Mohamed Salah scores, Lukaku scores, Ronaldo scores. I know Ronaldo's fixtures are changing and like they're becoming like red blocks, but I feel that if they all, you want to cover all your bases, right? You want to protect you want to protect percentages, right? But the only way you could ultimately do that is by having those 3 players, and of course that might cause captaincy headaches, but at the same time, you've got the peace of mind that you don't have to hide behind a sofa when one of those games comes on. And I'll say this again, right? The 4-4-2 formation can accommodate for those 3 attackers and Trent.
100%. I'm coming off a wild card in game week, just the last game week gone. So I had that option in without any hits. It was I could go 3, and I knew Lukaku had Spurs and City, so that was a tough one, but I wasn't going to let that stop me. It didn't stop me with the defense, and I was more than happy to go with the 2 up front. But then I felt for starters that was a bit more fun, having being able to jump between options, the likes of the Bamfords, the Antonios, even your Jimenezes, and then you still have that bit of money left in that you can kind of hop around in your midfield. I decided against it with the kind of the plan to jump off Ronaldo. I mean, you said he's fixture proof. I agree to a certain extent. I don't think Man United are fixture proof. I think Lukaku, again, everything you said about that Spurs match, nail on the head. I was watching it now, and obviously as a non-Lukaku owner, I feel that primes you a little bit. You're a bit more freaked out, but there was so many opportunities at the end that if Werner could hit a donkey's arse with a banjo, or if I think who was it that went straight? I think it was Kovacic or something, went straight through at the end, and it was like, if you just shoot there, do you know what I mean? Lukaku could have come out of that with close to double-digit haul without breaking a sweat. Eric Dyer decided every time Lukaku would run at him, he'd look like he was on ice. Do you know, I was just going, why aren't you standing up? Why aren't you standing up? Nope. Lukaku was causing havoc back there. And I don't know how much of that was Spurs and how much of that is just Chelsea going forward. And with their run of after the City one in game week 6, but from 7 onwards, Southampton, Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley, they are forgiving defense, or not forgive. You know what I mean? There's going to be chances there. So for me, Ronaldo to Lukaku is fine. I'm not too worried. But you're set on both forwards, Ash. You think Ronaldo's just fixture proof? He stays in your team no matter what.
Yeah, look, there are caveats to that as well, in the sense that I need to give full disclosure here, that initially my thinking was get Ronaldo and then when he stops scoring or his fixtures become problematic, switch to Lukaku, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Ronaldo in that Manchester United team, right? Like he is a game changer in many ways, and unless he's all of a sudden getting massively rotated, right, or he's just stopped scoring for them, or the European the Champions League's going to cause him problems, I see no reason to sell him. And I think a lot of managers who plan to sell Ronaldo to get Lukaku in game week 7 are going to have a serious problem on their hands when they do ultimately sell him, right? And what I'm saying to them is, look, why not both? Okay. Can I just say this? That another problem, right, is a lot of people get scared by the 4-4-2 formation in FPL. They think it's not sexy. They think of like Mike Bassett, England manager, or like dinosaur football from back in the day. But like for the sake of FPL, right, if you can have 4 decent starting defenders, 4 reasonable midfielders, and those 2 strikers, again in that premium that I've mentioned, the premium, whatever we want to call it, right, I think it can work. I'm not saying it's a permanent formation, but I feel that it can offer a true road into getting those players. And I'm not putting my stake in the ground and saying, yes, I'm going to do that. But to be honest with you, I've got 2 free transfers for this game week. And I've got I can use them. I can basically get Lukaku with 3 free transfers, right? With 3 moves, I've got Lukaku, no hit. I can do that, right? And again, I've got the wild card to tidy up if things go wrong as well. And it just depends where everyone is at this moment in time. Because let's just hypothetically say, lads, that Lukaku, Ronaldo, and Mohamed Salah, they keep on scoring hypothetically, then their prices are going to go out the roof. So if you don't have one of them, right, it's going to become really difficult to then own them in the future, especially if you don't have a wild card. And I also want to say that if you feel that you're going to cause like imbalance in your team, right, by having all 3 and Trent, then don't go by that option at all. I'm not saying it's the be all or end all, but all I'm saying is those premiums who we've outlined what the benefits are and also what the drawbacks are, that there is a case to have them all and there is a way to have them. And that's what I want to just put out there, really.
Ash, I'm sold. I'm not going to call. No, I am sold because anyway, it was part of my original plan. I've already said it in previous pods. I'm not going to call it the forium or whatever the fuck, because my arsehole twitches like a fucking rabbit's arse. But I am going to the 4 horsemen. That's the way. I already have Trent.
Yes.
So I have Trent. I can get to Lukaku in 2 moves.
Good.
Okay. So I have a potential team of Lukaku, Ronaldo, Trent, and Salah. Okay? And I feel that I might just scrape through with Torres and Traore and Jota for the next couple of game weeks. And I think I can fix that. I think I can fix that while the 4 horsemen keep the points coming. And I think I can, I have enough time to, sort that little fire out. Fair enough, maybe Antonio Bamford going. No, I'm not even going to think about that. But I think I'm 100% sticking to my plan of going Bamford, Antonio to Lukaku, and yeah, I think I'm happy with that idea. Jer, you're looking like you want to jump in. What are you thinking, Jer?
I think you would jump up on a cracked plate, Paddy, if they had a decent rank last year. That's what I think, being 100%.
Raid me fucking sister to get to me mother.
But looking at your team, Paddy, I know what you're saying. Ye both have City assets. You have Gundogan, Ash, Paddy, you've got Torres. Are ye in any way concerned about Pep rotation? Are they on the way out? Are you happy to just leave them sit there? Because City's fixtures, while looking a bit rough at the moment with Chelsea and Liverpool in the next 2, they do brighten up in game week 8. Burnley, Brighton, Crystal Palace. Any thoughts on that, Ash?
Yeah, so look, with Gundogan,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is out for a few weeks, and if Foster becomes like the nailed-on keeper, right, for Watford for the time being, then I could potentially have two 4.0 goalies, and that's a bit of a risk, right? But I could have two 4.0 goalies for maybe a few weeks, and by doing those three moves, Antonio out for. Oh, sorry, I have to backtrack. So getting rid of Pickford, who's injured, for Begovic, right? Getting Gundogan out for a 4.5 midfielder this week, right? I've got 4 million plus in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, if I want to, sell Antonio for Lukaku. That's it. That's all I have to do. Again, there's risks involved because I've got two 4.0 goalies, but it's a massive gamble. But hey, I've got the wild card. I can tidy up if I need to
Yeah,
as well.
you've got the wild card to tidy up. That's nice. And do you know what? The reason that I'm going Lukaku and Ronaldo, I don't want to be fucking. There's no way in hell that I'm going to enjoy fantasy football not having Lukaku
Exactly.
with those fixtures.
And Paddy, can I just say this, right? That
Mm-hmm.
we all bang on about like differentials, right? And sometimes differentials can be problematic, and for the most part they are. But I want to make a case, right, that for certain rank tiers in FPL, right, it would be a differential block, right, if you had Trent, Mohamed Salah, Lukaku, and Ronaldo. Do you get what I'm saying?
I
That
do,
you could
100%.
that would be like a shield on steroids or something, right? If you had that, and if they all did well concurrently. And
Yeah.
again, caveat I want to say again is provided that provided that it doesn't wreck your team,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a serious option. So yeah, I keep on saying this, and I might live to regret it if it all goes wrong, because I'm very heavily focused on having like a template team at this moment in time and playing it safe. That is my bag, right? And that's been my bag for quite some time. But I feel
Successful bag at that, Ash.
a lucky bag, Paddy, if I'm being perfect.
A lucky bag.
Do you have them in England? Lucky bags.
Did you have lucky bags in England?
What are lucky bags? I've just made that word
They
up.
were a fucking pound, like a pound or £1.50. They got dear, didn't they, Jer, when as the times changed? But they were just a bag full of fucking sweets, and then you got a toy inside them.
Yeah, it was like a Happy Meal for that you'd buy in a newsagents as opposed to fast food.
A petrol station or a newsagent. Yeah. There was no child that didn't get a fucking slap in the arse coming out of a petrol station when they saw a lucky bag, and they didn't get it.
But I guess I was just hoping that there was a bit of similarities. But I didn't mention this at the top of the show, Ash. You are the first Englishman to be live on the FPL Hangover. We're all friends now, isn't that right? We're all friends now, Paddy.
Oh fuck, we're all friends now, bye.
But getting back to a bit of FPL, looking at game week 6, we've talked a lot about what our plans are, how we're kind of approaching the Ronaldo Lukaku situation, and for what it's worth, before we move on, like I feel like that could be one of those decisions that defines the season, like this season, for FPL managers. Do you think that's the case, Paddy, Ash? Is it going to be the Ronaldo Lukaku decision, the two up top? Or do you
who knows? Who knows? But I'll tell you what. Now, if I go with Lukaku and Ronaldo and Trent and Salah, right, I need at least something out of Traore, Torres in the midfield and Jota for the next couple of weeks. Just at least till I can fix the situation there in the midfield. Like, people now are like, if you're going for that 4 horsemen or whatever, you have Jota. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of people on Torres, but there is people that have picked Traore for the Wolves fixtures and things. And I think that if I go with that, I may be able to just scrape by and get. And after that game week, after game week 7, I may be able to fix those little fires.
Yeah.
But like, I think who knows with Torres, like. He might be okay for this for game week 6. He didn't play game week 5. It's not like he's just a shit pick all of a sudden. He might be okay again. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I'll be holding him. Everyone's selling him. Maybe I get my juice.
Yeah, And look, Man City did not replace Aguero with a recognised striker, and Pep spoke highly of Torres during pre-season as well. A lot of people sold Torres before his double-digit haul, if we remember correctly, not that long ago. So I think with Torres, right? Look,
Mark Sutherland's being a big name that did it.
Yeah.
I was actually watching that live on his stream, and that really, poor guy.
That was the match of the day. That was the day he done the match of the day challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone was engaged in that. That was fantastic.
That was a great entertaining episode actually. Whenever I was cutting my grass, I was listening to them, and just when they were talking about it, they were saying that they should have known by the amount of people that tuned in to that episode. They were there for the pain.
Yeah, depression.
All of his chances went wrong, sadly, on that particular show. And imagine you sitting home, right, and doing that match of the day challenge yourself. But in that case, you had thousands of people watching you going through that. Oh, poor guy. I don't. Again, the point is that with Torres in particular, look, he can still offer you something. He's hardly like done and dusted. Of course, you've got the Chelsea game coming up as well, so we don't know what Pep's gonna throw in that bag. But the caveat I'll say is that if you've got a playable bench, right, then he should work for the time being. And with season-defining events in FPL, right, that you could make a case that one transfer may not be season-defining, but I feel that on a micro level it can be. And the more of these micro level events take place against you, then obviously it's going to be detrimental. Or if they go for you, then it'll work for you. So they do all add up at the end of the day. And it's just a case of, look, the best example we can give is the Ronaldo-Bruno debate. People like, Bruno, trusted, reliable for a year and a half in FPL. And then all of a sudden, blown out of the water by Ronaldo. And then the percentages, look at them, they're heading in two different directions now. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen. But it'll be an interesting one to see, who benefits ultimately from it.
100%. Before we move on to the Highstool part of the show, I do want to just quickly touch on captaincy for game week 6. Now, there's a couple of decent shouts this week. Antonio's return against a ever more depressing Leeds defence looks very attractive as an FPL manager. I think Lukaku against City, obviously that's something I'm not interested in the big games, so I'd be happy to look by him this week. But you do have Salah, a very in-form Mo Salah against Brentford. So there is options, I will be leaning towards Ronaldo. It's kind of the reason I went with him in the wildcard, was specifically to target game week 6 home match against Aston Villa. I don't rate Villa's defence all that, although the 3-0 against Everton this week was a pretty impressive result. I'm not too put off by that. I think at home to at Old Trafford, he's scored in every game he's played in since he's came back. Yeah, I'm it's an easy decision for me, Ronaldo. Paddy, who are you looking towards this week?
So that's another option, but I'll be playing the Ronaldo captaincy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Ash, what way are you leaning?
I think without a shadow of a doubt, like Ronaldo, Mohamed Salah, and Antonio will be the 3 most popular captaincy picks among multiple ranked players, right? But for me in particular, it's about like captaining EO and effective ownership, and in terms of who will be the most popular captain. And for me, I believe it will be Ronaldo. Home against Aston Villa. I know Aston Villa, kept a clean sheet in their last game, but I just can't ignore captaining him purely because of the percentages. Simple as that.
100%, Ash.
Yeah, you used the 2 dreaded words, effective ownership there. How much stock do you put in that, Ash, just while you're here? Because, I mean, I never Like, I'll be honest with you, like, up until maybe 3 seasons ago, probably since I started looking at FPL Twitter and kind of getting a bit more involved in the FPL community side of things, I never ever considered it. I always put the armband on the player I felt was going to get the most points. And now I won't lie, like, it's definitely something that pops into my head. Like, if I'm a little bit torn between, say, for example, this week, an informed Salah or an informed Ronaldo, then I just let EO make that decision for me. But has that impacted your decisions much, Ash?
Absolutely. And look, something happened to me during the first lockdown when I had the option of taking the red pill or the blue pill, right? To use a very well-known analogy. And I was playing this game called Virtual FPL, which livefpl.net ran during the first lockdown. And again, just a standard fantasy game based on, just like run on simulations. But with ownership, I always knew ownership was important for captaincy. But with effective ownership, I gave it more consideration than ever before. And I thought, wow, like, that's quite interesting that certain percentages can really affect your rank. And it got to a point that every single captaincy I did last season was purely based on effective ownership, not who I think would score the most points, but who I think will be the most captain player.
Every single captaincy?
Almost every single one. And you know what I'll do? I'll share something on Twitter which shows you how each of those captaincies did actually.
Okay.
But almost every single one was heavily influenced, if not solely influenced, by effective ownership. And I'll tell you why that is. Because firstly, I looking at the top 10k managers, they very rarely captain a differential. And you can test that yourself, right, by going on the livefpl.net website. You can track your favorite managers. You can look at their legendary list, track whoever you recognize. And I guarantee if you pick a list of like 20 managers, right, the legends, the consistent top 10k finishers, I guarantee that almost all of them will always captain who will be the highest, effective, the one with the highest effective ownership. And the reason behind that is that you're basically protecting yourself, and you're almost making captaincy, like, you're making it so safe that it's not gonna adversely affect your rank. Whereas you're not betting against the crowd, right? Yeah, there'll be weeks, right, where betting against the crowd could massively shoot you up the rankings. But it's almost like it's almost like this mini maxim in certain rank tiers that you don't put captaincy at risk. And that's why effective ownership plays a large part in what you do. And also, if you don't captain EO, right, and your captain blanks, and the EO does exceptionally well,
you're fucked.
Your rank will get destroyed, right? So, like I said, that red pill, I well and truly took it during that lockdown when I really read about it, and ever since then I've not looked back.
No, I get that, and I don't think I disagree with you. I think I'm just a bit of a romantic sometimes, and it upsets me to hear FPL reduced to such black and white numbers.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like, I'm not disagreeing. I get it.
And I have this mantra, right? And again, this might sound controversial, but I've said this on multiple shows, even on my spaces, right? That I don't play FPL the way I want to play it. I play FPL the way I think it should be played. And that sounds a bit nuts. It sounds, what on earth is he talking about? But that is my mindset. Again, red pill mentality when it comes to FPL.
No, 100%. And I think that's a perfect little segue into the Highstool. So if you could scoot on over there, Ash, onto the appropriate chair, that would be much appreciated.
There we go.
There we go. I'm glad.
Comfy on the.
I'm glad Paddy sent it over to you. I was a bit worried that.
I'm gutted I missed all the pill popping.
I've still got some red pills for you, Pet.
Nice one. So I had to go for a pish. Don't sue us, surgery.
But
I did get the gist of the percentage thing.
No, you missed it, Paddy. You missed everything.
No, but look, I know what you're wrong about, because when I used to be a casual, like,
you know, used to be, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a casual anymore. I'm semi-professional now. You know, when I used to be a casual, I just used to look at, I used to sell a fucking big player to bring in, player with an easy fixture. I used to just throw fucking transfers around the place like
Yeah.
fucking mad. But that's not what you do. Transfers are fucking special.
Yes.
They are. They're fucking hen's teeth.
They're not as special as you, Patrick. Over to
One caveat.
Go on.
Sorry, like we're talking about like being casual, right? My best ever rank, right? I was 110th in the world, and that was during a season where I didn't understand effective ownership. I didn't understand working on the template. I didn't understand all these terminologies, right? I captained David De Gea. I'd captained like other random people, and I finished 110th. So, I guess what I'm saying is there are other ways of finishing high as well and being like lucky. But when you get exposed to these ways of the template, and you kind of get stuck with them. But you can have fun and do well in FPL as well. That's one just mentioned.
Yeah, that Ash, you cannot put down that 110 rank to be in casual. Like we were going to talk about that anyway, but that was not a casual decision. Couldn't have been. But in saying that, I feel that the bubble and the Twitter and the community side of things really do put the fear of God into you. I know it's good in an extent, but I mean, it does castrate your decisions at times.
Absolutely, it restricts. I think you've got to you've got the FPL Twitter bubble, and then you've got this FPL template bubble. That's another thing. Then you've got your brain, what your brain wants to do.
Some people have a brain. Ash, let's not go too far.
And then you put it in a blender, and then you get your decision for that particular game week. But no, you're right. Like that, it's interesting the amount of times you'd put your team out. And I don't do this anymore, by the way. I don't share my team beforehand. And Paddy, you've probably seen it when people put their team out saying thoughts, or they just share it. And then you've got that person lurking about saying, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea. Oh, are you sure? And they put doubt in your mind, and then you complete your team. And yeah, that's a funny facet to FPL Twitter.
But Ash, that actually happened live on Spaces this week with FPL Rubber Ducky and Seamus. Rubber Ducky fucking basically fucking taunted Seamus for 45 minutes to bring Sarah into his team, and Seamus brought Sarah into his team live on Spaces, and there you go. But no, it's a double-sided edge. You could you should always go with your gut. I think maybe deep down Seamus knew that was probably the right choice, but he just needed someone to stick a wee finger in his arse.
Speaking,
I don't even go with my gut, bizarrely, because if I went with my gut, right, do you know how we talked about like transfers being special, right?
Yeah.
My instinct is to change my team as much as possible every game week, and I used to like do -4s on a Saturday night at one point, right? My instinct is to change the team as much as possible for the next game week, but like as much as I value instinct, right, I have to then split instinct from what I think is right, and instinct and what I think is right is sometimes two different things. I just want to mention that. Sorry.
No, that's worth mentioning.
No, of course.
And just before you jump in there, Jer, I just want to say this. I think I've got two managers inside me.
Yeah, most weekends I'd imagine you do, Paddy.
Yeah, no, I really believe that there's two managers inside me, right? And I know it's frowned upon, and a lot of people make fucking cat managers and fucking, and they do, say the cat's playing and they're playing. But I'm a fucking trying to be a serious manager, right? And doing all the fuck you, Jared. Fuck you. I'm a semi-professional manager now. I got my first ever top 100K. I've been on the up in 4 years, right? I haven't declined. It's been the plus and the OR, right? So semi-professional. But there's this part of me that's, just wants to be this fucking safe manager and do all that EO shit. And then there's this other part of me that just wants to be like, nah, let's not even look at what everyone else is doing. let's do this move. Let's just do something mad. Like there's two managers in everybody. I bet though.
Yeah, and it's
But
all about
against
the manager
Fabio's.
you feed, Paddy, isn't that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that on a restaurant bathroom wall one day. But can we get back to Ash here, Paddy, or do you want to be on the fucking high stool a bit longer?
No, fuck you, Jerry. Back to the high stool. Yeah, I thought we were kind of in the high stool at the moment anyway.
Well, we were, and then you just segued right back out of it. So hit the music, Paddy. Oh, you're not prepped? You're not prepped for this?
No, I'm not fucking prepped.
Oh,
So...
typical. Never mind. I guess I'll continue. No. I'm just taking the piss. But seriously, I am moving on to the high stool a bit more. We've talked about the ranks, and we've been talking about, Paddy's already mentioned, Paddy's already mentioned the 2011-2012 season, 110th position in the whole world. Like, that's a massive rank, Ash. And before I ask you a bit more specifically about that year, I just want to, and we've kind of touched on this already, but I do want to get your opinion and how much stock do you put in overall rank as a whole,
So on that particular point, right, and it sounds elitist and it sounds arrogant, but I play for overall rank, to be honest with you. That it's not to say that I'm that I always finish high. I don't. I've only, I spent 9 years not finishing in the top 10k, right? But like, let's be honest, why do people play FPL, right? A lot of people, there was a time when people played it for a laugh in the office, and that, you had that guy who captained some random guy and then he stopped playing after 2 weeks. But a lot of managers play FPL for overall rank. That's the reality. So I think that's very important. But then the definition is, what is a good overall rank? Some people, they say, I want top 10k. Other people will say top 1%. Other people will say top 100k. I feel that definition is becoming more fluid and flexible as more managers play FPL. So that's something that is also worth factoring. I don't know what a quote unquote good overall rank is. It's all subjective, but I play to do well in FPL, and that's the honest truth from my perspective.
No, that makes total sense. I don't like it's mildly subjective in the sense that it has changed. And as you mentioned, like, what was once, before everyone would cream themselves about top 10k, and obviously that's still amazing, but now with the growth of the game, with the availability of information and content, it's just everywhere now. I think you have like a denser bunch of FPL managers that take it more seriously, and so for me, I think anything inside the top 100k can be just considered a decent season, good season, excellent season, whatever way you want to put in it. But I'm the same as you in the sense that overall rank has kind of become how I judge my season. But for 10 years of the 14-15 I'm playing it was all mini league. It was all like, do I beat Seamus? Do I beat other mates? Is like, have I smashed them this year? Are they upset that they lost? That was the way I played it. If I could drink a sip from a jar of their tears, that was a successful season.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, so I mean, at least we know where you stand with overall rank, and I think it's completely understandable, and I agree with you in the sense that it is pretty important, and I think that is what you look back at now. I'm sure there's a few managers out there, and I don't know if anyone here is the same, but like, they'd look back at seasons that they threw away and they'd go, man, if I was taking this shit a bit more seriously, I would have played it to the end, that kind of way. But I mean, I don't think anyone looks back and goes, 6 years ago he got a 600k finish. I'm not listening to that shithead anymore. But going back to your 2011-2012 season, 110th in the world, I have to ask you, did you think at any stage that year you were going to win it, the whole thing?
To be honest with you, I wasn't really in a position to win it at all throughout any point in the season, because I got to a point where I think my start, it was an interesting season, by the way, because if you remember, that was a season when the game malfunctioned on the deadline, right?
Well, that was the free wildcard year?
Wildcard year, absolutely. Absolute chaos, right? So a lot of managers who hadn't locked in, and then they tried to make changes. It was just too late for them. And again, this is before FPL Twitter really existed, right? So God knows what would have happened now if that had happened, right? So that was a year you had the free wild card. Thankfully, it didn't affect me. I just had my team sorted already. But for a lot of managers, that massively affected their rank early on. Anyway, they then corrected themselves throughout the season. But for me in particular, I remember that season very fondly, not just because of the rank, but that was like my first season as like I don't even use the word content creator for FPL, but that's when I started my blog that season, September 2011, began my blog, and I didn't really know any FPL content creators back then. And that journey of like talking about FPL on different platforms started from that very point. And then FPL Twitter came along in that season, but a lot later. But in terms of my own overall rank journey in that season, it had a reasonable start. And then things began to change from the midway point. And it wasn't until I took some really crazy risks, right, where my rank went from like 20k to 10k to 5k to 2k into the hundreds, right? So I remember this one game week where it was a double game week because Bolton, I think sadly, one of the players had a cardiac arrest on the pitch and they had to have a double game week. Was it Muamba, if I'm not mistaken?
Muamba,
yeah, geez, I remember that. Oh my God, that's 6 years ago.
11.
11, sorry, 11 years ago.
9 years ago, 2012, I think. And yeah, anyway, what happened was that they had an extra double game week unexpectedly. And then I don't even know who the EO captain was then, right? I just randomly plumped for this midfielder that Bolton had called Martin Petrov, he was in his like twilight of his career, right? Literally no one was captaining him from what I understand and what I remember. I just captained him on the basis that, he's a Bulgarian international. He's very experienced. I had like such a really random reason to captain. I captained him. He did really well, right? And I smashed right into the top 100 in that penultimate game week. I went right up to like, I don't know, 500 something, up to 73rd.
Boom.
And then I was like, wow, this is crazy. I didn't expect that, right? By taking a massive risk. Again, I'm risk averse now. I wouldn't even dream of doing that. Got into the final game week, and Chelsea were in the Champions League final that season as well. And I was very close for a top 50 finish, right? I didn't know about playing it safe. I didn't know about any of that.
Yeah, you were just playing. You were just going on
exactly.
the win.
Exactly. So I bought in Aguero and I bought in Juan Mata, right? Aguero, we know what happened, scored that goal, flipping took his shirt off, got a yellow card, lost bonus points for that.
Bastard.
But Juan Mata, I bought him, and then he annoyingly didn't play in that game week. So I went from 73rd to 110th because of that -4. And anyway, is what it is. Aguero, I love him because he scored that goal and probably saved me from falling back any further because I captained him. And I knew then I would never finish that high ever again. I just knew that's like, what, 2 million managers. I knew it was downhill from then onwards, and it was. And then at that same time, FPL Twitter really came to the fore as well. That's a different conversation altogether, I guess. But that was a very memorable season purely because the start of my journey as an FPL addict, also doing quite well on a fluke basis. But yeah, just a fond memory.
Do you know what I love? Do you know what I love about Ash? Just here, sorry, just jumping in there. He's such a modest manager. Like he's one of the OGs. And before we come on, he gave us, you know, he didn't want us to call him an expert or a wanker, and of course, we done that in the first 5 seconds. But no, that you're such a modest guy, and you know you're so down to earth, and you've had an incredible like FPL journey, and just to talk like that, like how casual you are about it. Like that was an amazing season, 110th in the world, like, and just it's brilliant chatting to you and having your knowledge on here tonight because I fucking love you, Ash. And Bobby, I've seen him now on camera, and he's a fucking handsome bastard as well.
Thank you. No, I was gonna say, do you know the thing I really regret about that season, right? Because I signed up to Twitter, I think April of that season. I had like 28 followers or something around then. I'm like,
imagine.
I finished 110th and like 28 flipping followers, right? Imagine if I finished 110th now, that'd be like gold dust. But like I still
Oh,
remember.
you'd be fucking wiping your arse with fucking gold bars, fucking dust.
But no, thank you. Yeah, I really I look back in nostalgia for that season, right? And last season in particular, right? I'm really grateful because my best season until last season was that season. And like again, bizarrely, as FPL Twitter grew, my overall rank by season got progressively worse. Again, I look at the fact that I was playing the game in a different way every season, lots more managers joining, and they've got the tools to make more informed decisions without a doubt with all these websites that have popped up. But last season for me, it was almost like Rocky, what was it, Rocky 4 or something, where he beats, was it Rocky 3 or something? I've forgotten, like a Rocky type movie where from out of nowhere, having really low ranks for a couple of seasons, I just shot back up.
Yeah.
So almost like coming full circle again. So that felt really good.
No, it was good.
You're almost answering the questions before I even asked them, Ash. I mean, that was my next point. Was last year 5k, absolutely fantastic finish. And then I was basically going to say the year before that 284k, the year before that 604k. Pretty manky results, if you ask me. And considering your pedigree, what was that feeling like pulling back another 5k last year? Was that just relief, or did you did it never bother you? But you kind of touched on it, but if there's anything more you'd like to add.
I think the problem I had was, right, for like 8 years, right, I would always share my team before every game week. And in fact, there wasn't really anyone who's doing that, be it on Twitter or on blog, on a blog or anywhere. I was one of the first accounts who said, look, this is my team before the game week, that like a team reveal, right? So it's really it's not a good feeling when you're doing a team reveal and then your rank is really bad, right? And it was that's at a time when if I'm not mistaken, I was like an FPL panelist at that time as well. So it's like you're being branded as an expert by one set of people, then you're doing really badly, and then you've got other people saying, how dare you have an opinion when your rank is that? So like it gives you like an added pressure as well. Those 2 seasons, I look back at them, right, and bizarrely, I actually had really good starts in both of those seasons, and it was a case of not going by EO. Again, I'm learning from the mistakes now. Not going by the template, not going by EO, avoiding certain high ownership players, and taking unnecessary risks that really put me in that position. And I remember that I was then put in a position where I kept on going against the grain, and going against the grain ultimately just didn't work for me. I remember one particular weekend where I captained Raheem Sterling, scored a hat-trick. It was amazing. But then that was just one weekend, and all the other weekends I was captaining the wrong person. So it just goes to show that, like, these micro battles you have on a week-to-week basis, they do all add up, really. But hey, that happened. I had other commitments and priorities in life at that time as well. Still do
Ash, I remember talking to you around that time where you're having that little blip in your career, and you were like, I could feel it. We were just chatting privately, like, and I hope you don't mind me saying, like, it did, it affects confidence,
It does.
It does. And I remember thinking, like, you're a great manager, and I remember, my league, I was like, come into my league, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't know if I want to do that. And I was like, just do it. And I'm so happy you did that season. You did come in, because that was the season you just came right back into it. And I was so happy then, because do you remember that you were saying to me that, you didn't know if you wanted to do that season? And it does. That's the thing with FPL. It creates a wee bit of doubt sometimes. It's a tough game, and, I'm so happy to see you, like, coming back into it as a fucking fantastic manager again. And always were. You always were.
Thank you. Thanks, mate. And look, I really appreciate that invite, to be honest with you, because it came at a time where I took a break from content creation after 9 years. Mm-hmm. And again, I just wanted to recalibrate and rethink how I wanted to play FPL. And I remember it was like I literally joined your league, I think last season, literally on the last possible day of game week 1.
Yeah, I remember that. But you had been at the previous year as well. We've been chatting for 4 years anyway. Like, like you're always very welcoming to me, and we always had a good rapport.
And it's interesting actually, because we only spoke in person. Well, we only spoke last month. How strange is that? I've heard your voice. You've heard my
I've heard your voice and you've heard my voice, but we've only actually spoke last month.
Exactly. And can I just say that you've touched upon something there that we often don't talk about, like the mental side of FPL, the psychological side of FPL, that it's something that like we often neglect. And at the end of the day, look, it's a game, right? But then some people are heavily invested in the game. For some people, not me, just to clarify, for some people, FPL is their full-time jobs. And imagine, right, if it's their full-time job, right, and they fail every day or they're going for a bad patch, I feel for them.
Just a regular job.
How do they?
But no, I totally get what you were saying there. 100%.
Yeah, but no, like I think one thing I do want to say, right, having that rapport, and often you may not see it with people publicly, but like the DMs we've had, the DMs I've had with other people, like it means so much. Like there's a human side as well, the community side.
That's it.
I really value so much during the good times and the not so good times. Just talking to people, saying how are you, it just makes so much difference. So
exactly. And I think the majority of this little FPL community we have on Twitter, the thing I love about it most is everybody's kind of rooting for each other. You know what I mean? We celebrate the good times, and there when you have the really shit weeks, everyone's together. There's that many people. We all have shit weeks together as well. So everyone's got everyone's together.
See, this is why I'm not very decent on FPL Twitter. Is like I'm the opposite. I hope everyone but me loses every single week. I do have one question before we tie a bow in the high stool. Ash, and you've kind of touched on it already. As I said, like this is the easiest chat I've ever had. It's like 10-15 questions here and you've just bait them all out without ever having to mention them. But I have one here. It says, one tip you'd give to those riding the Red Dragon. Now, when I wrote that, I thought it sounded great, going through a bad spell, red arrows, and then now reading it back, it sounds like, a euphemism for a woman on her period. So I'm kind of, I don't know how much longevity that has in it, but yeah, for people going through a bad time, Ash, is there any tip you could give them?
Yeah, so I will say this, right, that are we talking about like just FPL, right? We're not talking about life.
No, just FPL. I don't think we're qualified to talk about life.
Well, look with FPL, right?
I am.
Oh, with FPL in particular, I would say this, that if you are going through a bad patch, just realise that is part of the game, number one, and also take a step back and think, what is it that is going wrong in your strategy or game planning or the processes? If nothing's going wrong in how you're processing it, then clearly it's a spell that you will hopefully come through. Also look back at the good times and think, what was happening when you were doing well in FPL? Are there any lessons or takeaways that you can get from that? But most importantly, I really want to stress this point, that, and I think this affects a lot of people, that ending the weekend on a red arrow as opposed to a green arrow. FPL is not a game of red arrows and green arrows, but it is about this, that it's not about like getting a green arrow and not learning from it, but it's about having getting the red arrow and then just being able to bounce back from it. So I've just completely killed the point I was going to make there now. I was going to say that, like, having a red arrow and then just bouncing back, really, that being able to bounce back and then realizing that actually you could fall back in that trap again. It's just taking it in your stride. I'm not sure if that completely made a hash of what I was going to say, but it's not a game of red and green arrows, but it's a game of taking the points on a week by week basis.
Yeah.
And just realize.
No, I totally get you, Ash.
Sometimes you win. Sometimes you win the battles, right? But sometimes you lose the battles. But these little battles might add up. But ultimately, it's about the bigger picture. I don't know if that makes sense. I've completely.
No, it totally does, Ash. And I'll tell you this. Anything you say, I take for gospel. Like, if you told me my wife was cheating on me, I'd leave her.
Hold on, I thought that's FPL Rockstars line.
It is indeed as well. But can I ask you a question? Let me ask you this, guys. Do you know what's worse than a red arrow?
Yes.
2 red arrows.
What?
A red arrow on an international break.
Very good. If that's not the first FPL Christmas cracker joke, I don't know what is. That's brilliant, and I think you do make perfect sense, Ash. You can learn a lot from the Reds as much as you can from the green, and it isn't as simple as just green and Reds. But we've heard quite a bit about Ash, the FPL player. Now I want to just talk briefly on Ash, the FPL content creator. Now I know you don't like to use that word. I think it's a perfect catch-all for whatever people do. But you at the moment you've got this fantastic FPL Hints magazine that you've been working hard on, and I had a quick read through it today. It's up on the screen for anyone that's watching this on YouTube. Listeners, you can find a link in the description below. I'll be attaching all links to all these, but I just wanted to have a chat with you about the magazine itself, because it's such a there isn't obviously magazines in their traditional sense is a medium that's dying off. This is obviously a virtual digital magazine. So where did that idea come from? Like, where did you think, you know what, we need a magazine, an FPL Hints magazine?
So firstly, the idea came about because there have been fantasy football magazines in the past, but then they've come and gone, right? I wanted something different insofar I wanted something that was by fans, for fans, right? And also to commemorate the 10th birthday or anniversary of FPL Hints this month. It's been 10 years. I can't believe it's been that long.
Wow.
Here's to you. Congratulations, sir. Sláinte.
Cheers, mate.
So much. Thank you. So for me, right, I wanted to do it in a different way. I didn't want it to be like something that was dominated by one particular clique. I wanted a magazine and I use that C word. I probably shouldn't have to open a can of worms by saying that.
It's okay. I think Paddy spells it with a K, so it's
fine. Or click, as some people call it. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But no,
I love the click has made it into this episode.
Oh God. But no, I was going to say that I wanted a magazine, right, that really cut across the spectrum of FPL Twitter, I guess, or even FPL. Large accounts, small accounts, old accounts, emerging accounts, people that are Hall of Fame managers, people who are not Hall of Fame managers. And I feel that with what I've done, right, and you're right, magazines are a dying breed. With this magazine, it's more of a fanzine, and it's to celebrate and to share content which I felt would really strike a chord with different FPL personalities and different FPL mindsets. And amazingly, first was created in a short space of time. Second edition was created in an even shorter space of time, and it's just giving something back to the community. That's why I basically. The best thing about it is that through the sponsors for the first edition and the second edition, we've been able to do it for free, so you don't pay a penny for it, and nor should you. So that's what the mindset comes from, really. So just a celebration and a give back to the ever growing and ever expanding FPL community.
That's great, Ash. And you know what? You're always giving back to the community, because I've even seen you, jump on some of the local football teams. Of course, my own local football team, Van Harps. That's one thing about you, Ash. You're always fucking giving back. You know what I mean? And you could have done it all if you wanted to. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about you. You're fucking one of the original OGs and one of the nicest people on the platform.
Thanks, Paddy. I really appreciate it. And don't get me wrong. There are content creators who charge content through Patreons and through their paywalls, who offer amazing content for value. And I
100%.
I would never disregard them for doing that. But for me, and for many FPL managers of a certain generation, I say that as if I'm an old uncle or something, but I'm not. But I'm from a mindset where FPL is not my livelihood. I do stuff outside of FPL, so it's basically like an addiction, or not a hobby, it's an addiction that's kind of gone out of control, and I'm still addicted to it. So it's part and parcel of who I am, I guess.
Exactly, and I just want to say I'm not a begrudger either. Anyone who's making money, I respect the hustle. People want to pay for it; it's their choice. I've always been that way.
Fuck them all. That's my motto. But I do really enjoy what I've seen in this magazine so far. I actually need to go back out and check the first issue because I only read the second one today. But as I said, the link will be in the description below. I echo Paddy's sentiments towards Ash, and I fully recommend going out and checking it out. Especially if you're just into FPL, as you said, like kind of. A little bit more. It's like there's a lot of stuff in there that I think would be of great interest. So a massive recommend from us here in the Hangover. Before we close the Highstool fully, I want to ask you one thing. Now, we found out off air, Ash, that you don't drink alcohol. So it kind of fucked this question a little bit, and I could have left it out, but I did want to get it in. If you were to be served you're on death row, you're about to be executed. You're to be served one final drink. It can be ice cold, it can be roasting hot, depends on you. What do you get?
A pint of water with ice.
All right. I wasn't gonna put you on the wall of shame. I did because it doesn't exist. But with that answer, it's cemented. You'll never leave it.
On the Hangover podcast. But Jared, before you close this up, please let me say one thing. Let me say one thing. Ash, you do a fucking Spaces every Friday, and it's amazing. I actually left my wife in bed one night and went into the bathroom just to join your Spaces. It was so good. Me and Seamus, and you join ours as well on a Friday, and we have a great crack. Tell us about your Spaces before we wrap this up, because it's you in your purest form.
Yeah, no, thanks, Paddy, for bringing that up. And I appreciated that night when you hopped out of your bed to go and talk to everyone. They know that was good. So FPL Hints Live basically is an offshoot, or it's a succession to FPL Live. That was a live show that I did with two other people a few years back, and then that couldn't continue due to technical issues. And then basically Twitter Spaces came about, and I thought, oh wow, this is interesting. I can talk FPL as I do on Twitter, but with audio, and I don't need a camera. I can just talk and just like carry on. So basically, that show happens on the eve of every game week. You've listened to your podcasts, and all of that's now wasted. You've had the press conferences, and then you've got us. Think of it as the card box to your black box. Think of it.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
You can't say that, Ash. You're gonna get fucking brought to court. You know what Mark and Az are like? They'll have you up in chains.
Now are fucking the SWAT coming through your building. But no,
cease and desist.
But no, that's 100%. That's why we do the last orders, because we do this pod tonight. Everything we said could be fucked by Wednesday or by Thursday or whatever. Someone gets fucking injured training or whatever, and we do the last orders. And like you do as well, and we just like a little post bit of chat before, after everything that's been said. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I've not even finished the description of the show. Actually, that was just one. The cardboard box to your black box, the 60th minute to your 59th minute, the black.
That's gone now. Not allowed to call it that anymore. It's the Athletic FPL podcast. Well done, General. You fucking lost that one.
Oh yeah, I didn't know. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Who got the goal to who got the? I'm kind of going through a sippy rope anyway.
What are you doing, Ash? You're just calling out everyone else, every other podcast.
I'm just changing the name to it, but no.
I see what he's doing. It's genius. I love it. And please make there be more. The who got the goal to who got the assist. I love that as well. The
universe FPL to planet FPL, you name it.
Oh, exactly. But do you know the one thing I really like about it? Because there are some spaces where you've got like designated speakers and no one else speaks. I love the fact, right, that I can literally speak to someone who I've never spoken to before, right? I turn their mic on. I bring them on the show. They ask their question. It's literally anyone can talk.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the one thing that it's not like some like elitist cult where it's, you know, person X and person Y. It's basically literally, yeah, we have regular speakers.
Yeah. It's not like Plonker's fucking Discord. I get you. But do you know what? You handle it really well. It's something I need to work on in the space myself. A bit of structure, you know, because, you know, you can only have 9 speakers, isn't it? It's like give everyone a chance. You work the room quite well, Ash. Always the professional.
Oh, thanks, mate. Like with how we do it, right? Is like there's a regular. There are some people who are on Twitter Spaces like so regularly. Anyway,
Rubber ducky.
You know. But no, we've got like regular speakers, and then we've got those who just come on first time or like the only time. And yeah, and there's so many people, by the way, who are like, you know what, we'd love to speak on the show, but you have it so late, it's past like everyone's bedtime, so we just listen in instead. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, that's one of the downfalls, that it's so late that a lot of people in the UK and Ireland don't listen to it. It's more people like maybe in America and the night owls of
yeah. But that's every negative has a positive, Ash. It connects you with people that you wouldn't usually interact with anyway on a normal day, you know?
No, exactly. And Paddy, can I genuinely say, right, in the short space of time that I've used Twitter Spaces, I've spoken to some really fabulous people. The Norwich fan, FPL Rubber Ducky, Mr. IBK, our Spurs fan in America who joins from time to time. There are some truly fabulous people. And you know what makes it even more amazing for me, right? You get to hear people speak, right? It's not about, oh, he's got 10K, he's authoritative. No, there's people I've spoken to with like 1 follower or 2 followers, right? And they've got amazing points to make. And it kind of cuts this rubbish about, oh, he hasn't got enough followers, I'm not going to follow him. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like you realize there are humans on the other end who've got some amazing points to make, and it really breaks, it breaks a lot of barriers. So
100%, Ash. And that's another thing, this whole follower thing, and unfollowing and following. Like, I don't follow people that I don't talk to. So if I end up, someone jumps on and have a good conversation with them, I'm not looking at how many followers they have. If I enjoy that person's company on a Spaces, I'm following them. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. So that's a nice way to do it as well. Because now, just to, off topic a wee bit, people go on about this follower thing. I had a Manchester United account, all right?
Yeah.
Had like 13,000 followers on it, and I followed 11,000 people.
Wow.
I was getting no content that I wanted from that account. It was a fucking mess. So I'm a fantasy football account, so I just want to follow, certain information like news channels and fucking FPL accounts, and content. Of course, I'm going to follow people that actually make me laugh or I interact with and stuff like. But that I see a lot of people are like, oh, this balance. It's a myth. There's no need for balance. Follow who you want to fucking follow, who you enjoy, the information that gives to you. That's as simple as it. And when you speak to someone in Spaces, you enjoy them, you follow them, and that's what I like about Spaces as well.
And at this very moment in time, FPL Rubber Ducky has just started a space.
He fucking would, wouldn't he? The quack.
That guy just lives on Spaces.
I love him.
Speaking of FPL Rubber Ducky, we're going to get into the FPL Hangover Mini League. And in first position this week, I know he's probably been hanging on to every second that this show has gone on because he's been dying to be top of the league, and he's achieved it. He can now retire in peace. FPL Dad, 72 points this game week, top of the FPL Hangover Mini League, 416 in total. In number 2, we just mentioned him, the Rubber Duckies himself. He's got 410 in total. Number 3, Donny's Duds. He's got 409. Var You Kid Me is 405. Number 5, Lena FC, 402. 6, The Mangled Badgers. I love that name. 398. Join 6, Sham United, 8. 398. FCS, 397. And in joint 9th, it's Margalai Cott, 394, and Kendall FC, 394, obviously. So, big congrats to FPL Dad. You absolutely smashed it this week. Once again, I've failed.
Donegal, man.
I have failed to to find the manager of the week. I've been a bit preoccupied with welcoming our fantastic guest for this evening, Ash. But that is the FPL Hangover Mini League, and we are going to wrap up the pod now. Paddy, where can everyone find you?
They can find me at FPL Viking underscore on Twitter, and they can find me at the Viking Dippers on Instagram, where I actually do a lot of charity work and raising awareness. And it means the world to me that if you follow that Instagram account, because every little helps, even spreading awareness and things for different causes. So thank you very much.
Excellent. The links are below. Ash, where can the ladies and gentlemen of the FPL Hangover find you?
All you have to do is go on Twitter search, type in the letters FPL, and I'll pop up.
Oh, fuck you.
Ah, you fucker.
All right, brilliant. So there you go. Type in FPL. You can also look up at FPL Hints. That is his Twitter handle.
All he needs is FPL. He's the OG.
I would like to thank you for coming in this evening, Ash. I know it was short notice, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
No, you're welcome. It's been an honour to be on and to be your first English guest. I can knight you both now. Paddy of Guinness.
Thank you very much.
Gur of Kilkenny.
Oh, controversial.
Did you have a good laugh, Ash? Did you have fun?
Yes, I did. Sorry, what controversial? Sorry, apologies.
I'm Limerick. I'm a Limerick man. I'm not Kilkenny.
Limerick. Oh, sorry. So Gur of Limerick. I've had lots of fun. I've tried not. I've tried restraining my laughter for most of it, but it's been a jolly good fun. Thank you so much.
Jolly good fun. Was there a more tan way to sign that off? But no, it is brilliant and it's great. And we'll hopefully get you back on again soon. And if you do want to check them out, as we mentioned already, every FPL Game Week Eve there is Chiefs or Ash's Twitter Spaces, and obviously check out our last orders as well. They're in and around same day and evenings and whatnot. I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. If you would like to reach out to us, you can contact us on Twitter at FPL Hangover. You can also send us an email. That's to the fplhangover@gmail.com. I hope you all enjoy your Game Week 6s, and God bless.